what are the best duels to watch this upcoming Big Ten season? These schedules just dropped, and I'm super psyched. I mean, I'm beyond ecstatic about Big Ten dropping their duel schedules, because that means you get to analyze it, get to check out who's number one, who's number, like, or when the number one and number two teams are going to be wrestling, like when all of our favorite duels are going to be happening. This is just brings such anticipation and excitement. So I'm bringing you a Fanco 5 best Big Ten duels to watch in the 2022 season. First up is Iowa and Penn State. And I mean, that's not a surprise, is it? Like Big Ten or Penn State and Iowa, number one and number two. And what a dang lineup this is going to be. I mean, these teams are bringing in 14 All-Americans, 8 NCAA finalists, 5 NCAA champions, with a couple of rematches that I'm going to tell you about. The last time that these two wrestled at Penn State was back in 2018. And I say that because they're wrestling at Carver Hawkeye this year. And it seems like, why are these teams... Why is Iowa and Penn State always at Iowa? That's what it seems like. It's always happening. Let's get this duel back to Penn State. Anyway, it's happening at Iowa this year. I wish it was at Penn State. The last time that I saw it at Penn State was actually whenever I was a freshman in college back in 2015. How crazy is that? And now here we are, Carver Hawkeye yet again. Can the Nittany Lions pull off the duel? That's, I think, going to be the question. I don't know if they're going to be able to or not, but one of the rematches that's going to be happening is Jaden Ironman and Nick Lee at 141 pounds. That's going to be a thriller. Carter Sirachi and Michael Kemmer at 174. And the thing about these two duels, or these two matches, is that, you know, they were incredibly tight in the NCAA finals, if you remember. And I think that Iowa is going to bring that kind of home field advantage, the home mat advantage they're going to bring, and that's going to help. Now, Iowa is going to they're bringing back their entire lineup, but it's even better because Spencer Lee's not injured. I mean, a whole refreshed lineup for both of these teams I think is exciting. Penn State's going to bring some newcomers, and Gary Steen at 125, Alex Facundo at 65 potentially, Max Dean in at 197. I mean, could be him or Michael Beard, but it seems like Max Dean's going to end up getting that edge. And speaking of guys who aren't injured, like Spencer Lee was injured for Iowa last year, Kirk Fleet was injured for Penn State last year. And I think both these guys, if they're healthy and back, that's going to make for even a more exciting duel. That's happening on January 28th. The next duel that you got to be excited for is Minnesota and Michigan. Number 7 Minnesota versus number 3 Michigan. Happening also on January 28th. So get ready for a day full of action watching wrestling on your sofa, or hopefully, you know, if you live near the areas, you're going to be able to go to either of these duels. That's happening on January 28th. Now, Michigan should blow through Minnesota. They really should. I think that Michigan is the clear number 3 team at the beginning of the preseason. There's a incredible lineup from top to bottom, especially that bottom half of the lineup is fantastic. But the big draw of this duel is going to be Gable Stevenson and Mason Parris. Gable can't stand Mason Parris. He can't stand him. I mean, we saw that after the Big Ten championships last year when he was just completely trash-talking, smack-talking him, and he just was tired of everybody calling Mason Parris his rival. And although he's not his rival, I mean, he is like that nemesis, that villain, that heel to Gable Stevenson. And I think that's going to be fun to watch again, to see what kind of tricks Gable Stevenson pulls out. Number 3 out of 5 best duels to watch this season. Number 2 Penn State versus at number 3 Michigan, and these are Fanco preseason rankings on January 21st. So this is actually before either of those other duels, but I did want to bring it up. This is a key duel for Michigan. I mean, it's absolutely key because Michigan isn't wrestling Iowa this season, and Iowa's the number 1. Michigan needs this win. Let me be absolutely clear about that. They need to get this win at the beginning of the season. And because Michigan's no longer in the National Collegiate Duels, they're not going to be able to wrestle Iowa. So they need a win over Penn State in order to be considered as the potential top team in the Big Ten. Now, I don't necessarily know if, let's say, for example, Michigan beats Penn State beats Iowa. is Michigan that number one? If they don't get the rest of Iowa, that'll be up, or will it be like a three-way tie? That'll be up to kind of the Big Ten, but it's going to be key. Michigan has so much depth down below, though. I mean, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 punch is what Michigan has. But the thing is, Penn State also has an incredible bottom half of their lineup. I mean, Michigan's going from Massa to Amin to Brucky to Paris, but Penn State's going, Starachi, Brooks, Dean, Kirkfleet. Yikes. I mean, that's going to be quite the duel happening at Michigan, and I'm interested to see what happens, because right now I'm giving Penn State the edge, but it's slight. It's a very slight edge that I'm giving to Penn State. And the next duel that you should look out for is Ohio State and Rutgers, wrestling on February 6th. Now, Rutgers went 0-4 last year. They didn't have the best season, but it was mostly due to circumstances outside of their control. They had a tight duel against Ohio State, and I think that's going to be a duel they're going to be able to get revenge on Ohio State this year, potentially. I mean, maybe. It's 4 All-Americans against 4 All-Americans. I mean, not all matchups, but, both teams are bringing 4 All-Americans, and I think that'll be super exciting. But Ohio State seems to be the deeper team this year all around, and, number 4 Ohio State versus number 6 Rutgers, that just, on paper, that sounds like a really fun duel to watch. I think the question at the beginning of the season, too, is like if Rivera is going to go 133, if he's going to go 141, will he wrestle Echemendia or D'Amelio? Both of those would be really great duels to watch. Ethan Smith versus Turley at 74. Caleb Romero and Poznansky at 84. Rocky Jordan in Balzac at 97. He's a transfer in to Rutgers. That's a big transfer at 197. And I think that could really rock Rutgers in that duel happening on February 6th. And what's the 5th duel that you should be watching out for? Iowa and Nebraska. This is the season finale, the final duel of the season. Now, Iowa dominated Nebraska last year. It was 31-6, and I thought Nebraska had an incredibly tough team last year. They did. And there still should be some exciting lineups or matchups with Ironman versus Red at 41, Murin versus Lovett at 49, Kemmerer and Labriola at 74. Remember, that didn't happen last year because they wrestled so early on. So that didn't happen last year, but Iowa still put the beat down on them. Jacob Warner and Eric Schultz at 97. They're going to still be some fun matchups. And because it is the last Big Ten duel of the year, I think that's really why you should be watching this duel. Which duel are you the most excited for? I'm sure if you're a big college wrestling fan, you're looking out for Penn State and Iowa, and that'll be fun. But what else? What other duels are you looking forward to this season? And if you're looking for rankings for every single conference before the season gets here, you're going to want to check out this resource right here. This will take you to a page where you can download my Fanco Wrestling rankings for free. That's all 78 D1 teams, every single conference, whether you support Big Ten, Pac-12, ACC, you're going to get little tidbits of information and the rankings you need to know before the season gets here. You can check that out for free right here.